Welcome everyone to the January MUSC Sustainability Conversation Cafe. My name is Christine von Kalnitz. Our topic today is energy efficiency in homes and businesses. And we have Bryan Cordell from the Sustainability Institute. And he is going to be presenting on this topic today. And welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. All right, so we are working now as a group. We've got the Medical University of South Carolina, the College of Charleston, the County of Charleston, and the City of Charleston. Our four entities are working to try to promote the same topics on a monthly basis. And this month has been energy efficiency. The mission of the sustainability program at MUSC is to sustain MUSC builds healthy communities by inspiring and implementing solutions to environmental, social, and economic challenges. And our initiatives range from anywhere from transportation, green transportation, to recycling and energy efficiency. We've got a lot going on down here at MUSC, and invite you to come to campus anytime and see what's going on. All right, so if you want to connect with MUSC or any of the other sponsors, we've got all sorts of social media avenues that you can reach us through. We've got a monthly newsletter that we send out. We've got social media like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on campus for MUSC, we've got a broadcast sustainability site on the Yammer. And let's see, let me let this person in. All right. The other connections that you can make are to look for on social media, Charleston Green Businesses, Center for Sustainable Development at the College of Charleston, Charleston County Environmental Management, Sustainable Charleston, and there's one more I could have put on there is Charleston County Recycling. That's another good one to reach out to. Before we get to today's topic, I want to just quickly let you know that next month's topic is composting. We will be working on compost workshops throughout the month. Those have not all been put together yet, but you can see here that there's one coming up February 21st, one on the 28th. There'll be a few in March and one in April. So those are going to be all around the county, all the way from West Ashley to James Island and Daniels Island, even out at Folly Beach. So I hope you can make one of those compost workshops if you have any questions on that. All right, today's topic, energy efficiency in homes and businesses. So Bryan Cordell, he's the executive director of the Sustainability Institute, and they have been working for, 20 years now. Can you believe it, Bryan? Time flies. So, they do so many things to help the Low Country be sustainable, including advising on sustainability in general and climate action. And they produce models and programs for high-performing commercial buildings even. They retrofit homes. They empower families with skills. They train new, young workforce. So, it's like we've got these young people coming up that really care about sustainability, and someone needs to train them, right? So the Sustainability Institute has been doing a good job of that. And they're also now restoring coastal habitat. So they've got a lot on their plate. Today, we're going to narrow it down to that energy efficiency topic. While Bryan is getting his slides up, I want to quickly let everyone know that using your camera during webinars uses more energy. So if you could please turn your cameras off, especially since this is a, presentation on energy efficiency, we want to have our cameras off. And want to let everybody know we're recording today. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And during the presentation, I'll put out some information about how you can get in touch with Bryan at the Sustainability Institute or me here at MUSC. And looking forward to today's presentation. Again, if you can turn your cameras off, that'd be great.
All right, Christine, can you see that okay?
Yes, I can. It looks great.
Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome everybody. It's a real privilege to be here with you all today. Christine, thank you for the nice introduction and overview of the Institute and our work. And I just want to say that I'm really in awe of all the things that y'all are doing down at MUSC with your green and sustainability efforts. And so really proud of the work that y'all are accomplishing as well. I want to mention at the beginning of this for everybody that just acknowledge I am just getting over COVID and suffering from a different viral infection this week. So I just want to apologize in advance if you hear me coughing. I lost my voice yesterday, and so far today, so good. But I just wanted to warn everybody about that. And just to give you well, first, I want to thank the MUSC Sustainability Department and our other partners for their promotion of these conversation cafes, including City of Charleston, Charleston County, and the College of Charleston. I'm going to be giving a quick overview of the Institute and what we do, and then really honing in on the energy efficiency building performance piece. I want to say at the beginning that there's some things I'm going to just touch on and some things that I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive on. Some of the things that I'm not going to go into depth on today because they deserve their own presentations. While I'll touch on them, I'm not going to go into in-depth on HVAC and other mechanical systems or renewable energy systems. We're going to really focus on the energy conservation and efficiency piece and just sort of touch on systems as we go through this. In terms of our nonprofit organization, as Christine mentioned, we've been around for about 20 years. And you can think of what we do in three buckets of programming. And I'll talk for a second about our habitat restoration, green infrastructure work. Of course, that's not the main topic today, but did want to let everybody know we have a AmeriCorps-based service learning and job training program that recruits young adults in the community, age 18 to 24, and provides them with a service learning experience over the course of either 6 months or a year. And so we're actively recruiting all year long, but we're actually recruiting a new cohort right now. And those young people, we hope, will become the next generation of conservation leaders in our region, and they are exploring potential careers in conservation while in this program. And the activities that they focus on include a whole lot of salt marsh restoration up and down the South Carolina coast, doing water quality testing and monitoring, building rain gardens, performing reforestation projects, and all kinds of other cool trail conservation work. And it's all based in measures for coastal resiliency. So it's a real neat program, and you can find out more about it on our website. Our home weatherization and repair work we've been doing for about 12 years, and that includes doing home performance energy audits and making critical health and safety repairs that are often required before you can start weatherizing homes, performing weatherization and energy efficiency upgrades. And then we do a lot of energy conservation education in the community as well, because that's a real vital part to transforming our community and just raising awareness about how to approach energy conservation. And then finally, I'll mention, green building has been a strong aspect of what the organization's promoted over the years. Currently, we have a high performance building certification for commercial and multifamily buildings, and have close to 2 million square feet of buildings in the greater Charleston area in the program right now. And I'm going to touch a little bit on what that program's about later on. And we help develop green building strategies for municipalities. So for our weatherization home repair, just to talk about this for a second, what we're trying to do is particularly help low to moderate income residents upgrade their homes. Most of the homes that we work on are built before the 1980s, when current energy codes came out, and have a tremendous number of problems that they face due to age and condition and just inefficient systems. And so we go in and we diagnose home performance problems. We fix any health and safety issues that we can find. We perform the upgrades to the homes, and our goal is to help these families target a 20% or more savings on their utility bills, which for most of these families, adds up to more than $1,000 a year. And then we track utility savings and the associated carbon reductions. So homeowners can go to our website, fill out an application. I've got a link to that later on in the presentation, get the home audited, and then we complete the repairs. And on the right of this slide, you'll see sort of the typical efficiency upgrades that we do in homes. So our workshops that we do, similar to this one, we tailor them for different audiences. They're generally about an hour in length. They're free to attend. They mainly focus on low and no cost techniques and all the behavioral things that you can do in your home. We do these in person and virtual. Oftentimes we're able to provide energy conservation kits, or they're sponsored workshops. And we do a lot of them for nonprofits and churches and neighborhood associations. And just wanted to mention this because if you have a group that you work with and you're interested in having one of these presentations done, we'd be happy to talk to you about it. We've had about 5,000 families attend to date. So, why talk about conserving energy? Most of y'all in the audience know this, but obviously one reason is saving money and reducing utility expenditures, particularly as energy rates have been historically rising, and there's so many families in our community that can't afford the cost to heat and cool their homes. But as we do these energy conservation measures and upgrades, we also improve safety, health, and comfort in the home. That's a big part of it. Obviously, we're lowering greenhouse gas emissions as homes become more efficient. And then we pair these conservation measures with an electrification strategy to really try to achieve building decarbonization in our communities. So there's a real movement now to stop using gas fuels to power our houses, and to move houses in our communities to all electric and to clean electric energy. I want to acknowledge that we don't all start at the same place. And so some of us face higher energy burdens to start with. Energy burden is defined as the percentage of your gross household income that's spent on energy costs. So think of it as your energy bill divided by your household income. And for some populations, it's much higher than others. The median energy burden of a Black household, for example, is 43% higher than that of a white non-Hispanic household. And so we just need to keep in mind that there is an equality issue at play here, and some of our populations face stronger energy bills than others. I do also want to mention that energy insecurity is obviously a big issue here, but particularly in the Southeast. And the Southeast Energy Efficiency Alliance just recently completed a study that showed that 1 in 3 households across the Southeast is energy insecure, meaning that they have trouble affording their routine energy expenditures. And I thought that was a pretty amazing fact. So what is weatherization? I'm going to talk a little bit about just terms and general concepts to be aware of. You know, most of us think about weatherization as weatherproofing, or the process of protecting your home and its interior space from outdoor elements. But it also includes modifying your home to reduce consumption and, you know, all the things that you can do to optimize energy efficiency. And again, many of those things also improve health inside the home. I'm not going to go through a lot of detail on this, but, you know, just in terms of understanding your utility bill, this is what most utility bills look like. There's a billing period. There is your kilowatt hours is how we measure usage, and that's you know, multiplied by your utility rate, and that becomes your bill. And kilowatts is simply, you know, the watts of whatever, you know, appliance that you're using times the you know, length of time it's on in hours divided by 1,000. So just to get good to know what kilowatt hours is, because that's how, you know, what shows up in your bill. On your water bills, they measure it in, you know, typically in centum cubic feet, CCFs. 1 CCF equals 748 gallons. You typically see your total number of gallons that you've consumed on your water bill. And that's important just to like monitor that total number of gallons, you know, as you start taking on water conservation measures. So often these measures, when we talk about these measures, we'll talk about, you know, here's different ways you can eliminate 5 gallons here, 100 gallons here, and that plays into your bill. A real important concept when you start taking on energy conservation is understanding your energy profile. Your home energy profile differs pretty significantly from an energy profile that you might see for a commercial building. And one of the things we'll talk about later is even within commercial buildings, your energy profiles differ significantly. An energy profile is simply how energy is consumed on average, you know, in your house or your building. And you'll notice here that most of our energy consumed in houses goes to heating and cooling, close to half. When you add in water heating as the third largest, you know, you're right over half of how things are being consuming. And then lighting, appliances, electronics, and other things play a role as well. But we want to target the things that, you know, will have the most dramatic effect and highest payback. Performing energy audits is one of the most important investments that you can make. There are a number of different kinds of energy audits that you can do. Some of them are visual inspections. Others also include actual diagnostic performance testing. When you do performance testing, you typically hear about blower door, duct blaster, combustion appliance zone testing called CAS testing, thermal imaging, and you may hear energy modeling. Regardless of whether you get a visual inspection or an even more thorough diagnostic testing done on your house, this is one of the most important places to start. And both of those are valuable services. And Dominion Energy offers a free home energy checkup that is more of a visual inspection. That is a really good service that people can take advantage of. Or you can hire someone from the private sector who is a HERS rater or, you know, has a BPI credential that can come out and do the performance testing on your home. Blower door test is one of the really important things that they do. They hook up fans on your house that depressurize your house and basically suck all the air out of your house and suck in air to show where air is infiltrating, to show and measure where air is infiltrating in your home. And this is particularly important on older homes to understand where leaks are happening in our houses. We do the same thing in our HVAC system. In our ductwork, it's called a duct blaster test, and that simply measures the leakiness of the ducts in our house. The combustion appliance zone test is important because it tests whether the byproducts from your gas burning appliances like carbon monoxide, benzene, and other pollutants are at higher levels than they should be and have a safe way out of your home. I was reading recently that there was a test study done out in California that was published last October of 159 houses across the state in different regions, and they found that 99% of those homes were emitting benzene from the gas burning appliances at levels that were 7 times what the EPA recommended. And so we know that in many of our homes, gas burning appliances are leaking carbon monoxide and other pollutants in ways that they shouldn't. And that obviously affects the health of occupants in the home. There's things that we can do, like opening windows, turning on fans, exhausting the air over our stoves, and all of those things help. And of course, we want to have carbon monoxide detectors in, but it's important to know that oftentimes these appliances leak. I'm going to touch on lighting because it's a really important strategy. The cost of LEDs has come down so significantly over the past decade, and we really should all be moving from standard incandescents, to what we were using as a more efficient option, which was CFLs, to LEDs. Obviously, there's some environmental concerns associated with CFLs and the mercury that they contain, and the LEDs are more efficient options, but they typically use at least 75% less energy and last up to 25 times longer than incandescent lighting. Also, please remember to recycle your CFL and other bulbs. There's so many simple strategies when it comes to lighting that we should talk about, particularly taking advantage of natural light whenever possible. If you come into our office at the Sustainability Institute, people sometimes laugh when they get up to our office and open the door because all of our overhead lighting is typically kept off unless we have a meeting. And so it looks a little dark in our offices, but in all of our individual offices and worker spaces, we have task lighting that we use, and that does a tremendous job in reducing our bills. And so anything that you can do to take advantage of natural light and heat is a good thing that will have an impact. Air sealing is one of the most important things that you can do. And when we talk about air sealing, we're really referencing the building envelope of the house. And the building envelope simply consists of everything that you see in green on this diagram. Think of it as the walls, which include the windows, the ceilings, the floors, the crawl space. And we want to prevent air infiltration through that envelope. Newer constructed homes are becoming more and more airtight, which is a good thing. One, just concern to mention is that as we tighten up our houses, we need to maintain proper ventilation. And so now, what we typically see in more efficient homes is controlled ventilation through your building envelope. So we're bringing in fresh air, circulating air, and dumping stale air out of the house as a way to control ventilation strategies. What we don't want is air just moving in and out constantly. We call it wheezing through the building envelope because that's not efficient and it brings in outdoor pollutants to your indoor environment. So where do you check for those things? Well, anywhere that ducts, pipes, wires pass through the building envelope, through your windows and doors, your baseboards, and your attic openings. To address that, we simply air seal. We do a lot of caulking around windows and doors, between the walls, floors, and ceilings. This is a super easy thing to do, very low cost, very easy to learn. there's different types of caulk depending upon what purpose you're using it for. Silicone includes a waterproof barrier, or acrylic latex can be used in places that you don't see a lot of water, but caulking is an important measure to take. Similarly, we use a lot of spray foam, and that's for the bigger openings that you find throughout your house. It is amazing when you walk through kitchens and bathrooms and open up underneath your sinks, seeing the size of typical plumbing penetrations that go through the walls. Those need to be filled, and the great stuff and other brands are easy ways to do that, this expanding foam. That also helps you control pests coming inside your house. Obviously, weather stripping windows and doors is important. There are a lot of different weather stripping products that are out there. You use the window weather stripping. Typically, it's applied on the window sash to create a seal against the window frame. At the bottom of the doors, we use door sweeps or under door seals, and that's what they look like. They're typically either slide on options or they screw in, but they're very easy to install. And the important thing to remember here is that only an eighth inch of a gap between a door and its threshold allows the same amount of airflow as a 2-inch square hole in the wall. So just think about the number of doors on your house, and if they each have just that 1/8 inch gap, how many 2-inch square holes in the wall you have. Plastic storm window kits are also available if you have older leaky windows to control air infiltration through the windows. And we use light switch and gasket seals behind your covers to help minimize the air that moves through them. Obviously, we have a tremendous number of outlets and switches throughout our house. We'll mention on that, you only really need to worry about the ones or focus on the ones that are on the building envelope, so the walls that also have an exterior to them. Insulation is obviously an important measure. R value is what you want to focus on. The higher the R value of the insulation, the more heat resistance you have. Here in South Carolina, the recommended levels are R38 in the ceiling, R25 in the floors, and R15 in the walls. So how do you measure? Just use a ruler and figure out how many inches of insulation you have and what that equates to. Almost every single home that we go into, 99% of homes need more insulation than what they have to get up to R38. One of the most important things you can do when you're adding insulation, whether you're using batt insulation or some type of spray-in insulation, is to make sure that it is not compressed, it's evenly spread between the joists. So you're really looking for an even layer across your attic space. For your HVAC, keeping your HVAC running at recommended levels is one of the most important things you can do. The recommended settings are 68 in the winter, 78 in the summer. I realize we're in a hot, humid region, and those temperatures may not be realistic for you. And so, what you want to consider is that every degree you move away from those temperatures adds about 4% to the average home's energy bill. So, keep it on what keeps you comfortable, but remember that every degree makes a difference. Programmable thermostats are obviously really important because they allow you to program when you're at home versus when you're not, and to regulate those temperatures accordingly. And of course, now they have smart thermostats that you can control through your phones and sync together, and they can sense temperatures in different rooms. And so we're now at a spot where we have much greater control over how our systems work in our house, and that has a dramatic effect on efficiency. And the price of those smart thermostats has, really come down over recent years. Easy, cheap thing to do is to make sure you're replacing your HVAC filter on a monthly basis. Here, you want to just focus on the MERV value. The higher the MERV rating, the smaller the particles that are being filtered out. But regardless of what MERV rating yours has, or what type of filter you use, if it's a reusable or a washable one, it's just important to make sure it's done on time. And so, writing the date on the side of it, placing a reminder on your phone is something that's good to do, and frankly, something that most of us forget about. Using ceiling fans, really helps decrease energy usage, and then obviously keeping draperies and shades in your south-facing windows closed during the cooling season to block out sunlight, and open in the winter to allow the sunlight to heat your home helps a lot. Appliances, there's so much to talk about with appliances, and I'm just going to barely touch on it, but you need to look for the Energy Star, which meets the highest rated appliances for efficiency, and reference your energy guide. Your energy guide will tell you the estimated yearly operating cost, but maybe even more importantly, the number of kilowatt hours that appliance will use each year. So when you're comparing models to each other, you want to reference that energy guide. Your refrigerator is your most energy consuming appliance. It's good to keep it running 2/3 full. It helps it be more efficient. And of course, keeping the temperatures set to the right settings, 40 for the refrigerator and 0 for the freezer is important, also for a health perspective. And brushing and vacuuming your coils, keep it better maintained and running efficiently. You can use the dollar bill test on the gaskets. The gaskets are the rubber strips on your doors. They go bad, wear and tear as those appliances age. And if you just stick a dollar bill into the door, close the door on the dollar bill, if that dollar bill's loose or falling to the ground, then those gaskets need to be replaced. Doesn't necessarily mean you need a new refrigerator. You can always just replace the gaskets. Your dishwasher, if you're going to purchase a new one, then purchase an Energy Star. If you do, they're actually more efficient than hand washing your dishes. Typical Energy Star dishwasher only uses 3 gallons of water per load, while hand washing that exact same load uses about 27 gallons of water. So good reason to run your dishwasher and not have to take the time to hand wash dishes. Obviously, if you're not doing a full load, then hand wash dishwashes as necessary. But if you're often you have a family, you're often using full loads, and that's the way to do it. Washer dryers, you want to keep them on the right settings. Use cold water wherever possible because you're cutting energy consumption by 50%. For your appliances, you really want to keep your appliances shut off, powered down wherever possible. Beware of standby mode because they're still consuming energy when they're in that mode. It's about 75% of the energy is used in standby. And so using a power cord and being able to, press one button and shut off multiple appliances at once is a good tool to have. Water heating, we talked about that being the third or second largest expense in your home at about 18% of your bill. Most families spend around $500 a year through water heating. 64 gallons of water used by each household each day. And it's interesting for me that most water heaters last about 10 to 15 years. but more than 27 million households have one that's older than 10 years. So there's an awful lot of hot water heaters out there that need to be replaced right now. If you have a tanked one, and these are, obviously the most common, one thing to be aware of is that the water temperature should be set to 120 degrees and not higher. And for older ones that aren't insulated, you can use water heater blankets. So, you do have to be a little bit careful about how that water heater blanket is installed, but it's relatively easy to do, and that will insulate your hot water heater. And then you can put insulation on the pipe, the hot pipe that is coming out of your water heater, and that will help as well. Tankless options are available. They're known as demand type or instantaneous. They only provide hot water as it's needed and don't produce standby energy losses. So they can be 24 to 34% more efficient. I'll acknowledge that they do cost more. There is a higher upfront cost. But they're saving a lot of water, and they have a life expectancy of more than 20 years, so they last longer. There's so much to talk about in terms of water efficiency. And we just define that as really minimizing the amount of water that you use to accomplish a task in your house. And how that relates back to energy efficiency, of course, is that a lot of the water we consume in our house, in our faucets, in our showers, is hot water. And so that affects your energy bill as well. So we promote low flow fixtures, and there's a lot of different types of low flow fixtures now on the market, simple to replace or to add on. For a faucet flow restrictor on a sink, it helps your sink use 30% less water. A low flow shower head can save up to 50% less water, and a low flow toilet averages 40% less water. I will say that a lot of people sort of roll their eyes when we talk about low flow fixtures and feel that they suffer from the experience of like using a low flow shower head. Maybe the pressure is not as good, but these devices have really improved over the last couple of years, and there's really great ones on the market that you should notice little to no difference when you use it. Checking for dripping faucets is important. That's where a lot of our water gets wasted. And I want to talk for a minute about the Dominion Energy programs. So, these are some offerings that they have that you can take advantage of, up to 70% off LED light bulbs and discounts for smart thermostats and power strips. And then, free shipping on some orders. The free energy checkup that I mentioned is a very valuable tool. It can be done as an in-home consultation, video chat, or even telephone call. And then they have some incentives that they provide when they do that. They also have an appliance rebate program, and a lot of us have these old secondary refrigerators in our garages that we may not use, and they're typically energy hogs. They'll come pick it up for free and give you $50 cash back. And then the heating and cooling rebates are excellent as well, and really help reduce the cost of purchasing new HVAC equipment. There's also all these new federal tax credits coming out under the new IRA that will be available through 2032. Those max out at $3,200 in a year, but they cover home envelope improvements and all kinds of appliances, heat pumps, and even provide a home energy audit tax credit of $150. And again, there's a broad selection of Energy Star certified equipment that's eligible for those tax credits. So there's a plethora of information out there about the tax credits, and I'll have some resources later on in the presentation that you can go and look at. I'm going to flip quickly to commercial building energy usage so that we can talk about that for a few minutes. Again, here we'll go back to what we mentioned with the energy profile. It's really important to remember that not all buildings use energy the same way. A fast food restaurant is going to use energy much differently than a fire station or a multi-level building or a hospital. Lighting gets used differently, water gets used differently. In our restaurants, we use a tremendous amount of hot water. Some of these building types use a tremendous amount of lighting or HVAC use. And so when you think about how do you reduce energy in these buildings, your strategies really need to pair up with what type of building is it and what does that profile look like. The EIA did a building characteristics study that's really helped sort of frame this issue and published their results back in 2018. I'll acknowledge that these came out right pre-pandemic, so there have obviously been some changes in how we use commercial buildings since the pandemic started. But it's important to note that the growth in commercial building size has outpaced the increases in building stock. So we're increasing the number of commercial buildings overall at a really fast rate by 22% over that 15-year period. But we're also increasing the size of those buildings and the total floor space by 35%. So just think of this as our buildings are getting bigger over the size of our older commercial buildings. There are some buildings that are more common than others. Warehouse and storage, office and service buildings are the most common types. And we've seen those are also where the biggest energy uses typically are. And in terms of increases in use, public assembly and lodging has really taken off over the past decade or two as well. We still have a whole lot of older buildings, and buildings between 1960 and 1999 account for more than 50% of our commercial buildings that are out there. So there's a huge opportunity to retrofit existing buildings, and that needs to be just as much of the conversation as what can we do about new commercial buildings that we build. The shares of commercial buildings and floor space are higher in the South, where population is higher. And I just sort of threw this in there. About 2% of commercial buildings now have EV charging stations. And so that's on the increase as well. And obviously that's been increasing since 2018. Just two additional things to mention. There's been, over the past 5 decades, there's been a big increase in the use of electrical equipment in our commercial buildings. And that relates to, new office equipment, computers, printers, copiers, telecommunications, and medical equipment and other things that we use. But that's been a big factor in the increase in energy use for commercial buildings. Lighting is still the largest in use, and many buildings target lighting for savings through advanced lighting technologies. That's one of the big opportunities. So I'll mention, real quickly, as a worker with little control over the design of your building, what are some simple things that we can all do? Decreasing lighting usage wherever possible, and taking advantage of natural light, like we talked about in our homes, is important. Cutting off overheads, using multi-level or task lighting where possible becomes a really important strategy, since lighting is the biggest in use. Switching to LED lighting wherever possible, if you have control over that's important. Not messing with the HVAC thermostat. A lot of our offices run on programmed thermostats, and we want to keep them there. A lot of our office buildings are being managed by an energy manager, and they're set at certain levels on purpose. And so whatever we can do to not interrupt that and keep controls level is important. And running fans at individual offices can make a difference there. Again, the heat gain or heat loss through windows can trigger those HVAC systems to work harder. So anything that you can do to control that makes improvements. Reducing plug loads is a big one. So computers monitoring monitors, network devices, whatever you have control over, shutting those down at night is important. They account for about 25% of total energy consumption. And as we replace computers and other new equipment, buying Energy Star rated ones will obviously help as well. And then just overall, working with our colleagues, our fellow workers to build energy conservation awareness is an important aspect of this. I want to talk for a second about Charleston Rises, and this is my last couple slides here. Charleston Rises, again, is our high performance building program, and we are promoting buildings that are at least 30% more energy and water efficient beyond current code, and projects that aren't constructed using materials that adversely affect the health and well-being of occupants. You can sort of think of us as the primary thing that we're targeting is the performance of the building, so energy and water efficiency, but we care about the other things that make a building green and that you see as a part of a lot of the national certification programs too. We're different in a couple ways. One, we're sort of the local on-the-ground team of experts that reviews the strategies, advises the projects, meets in person, and is at your side during construction. So we actually step foot on our projects and do inspections and have a real intimate relationship with our projects. And we use this cool online platform for managing the projects and all the credits in our program that make the administration of these projects much easier. And Green Badger is the system that we use. Some of the projects that you may be familiar with that are in the program are Morrison Yard. This is Morrison Yard going up right now. Atlantic on Romney, which is a 400,000 square foot apartment unit in the Upper Peninsula. Navy Yard Hospital, this is North Charleston Navy Yard base that's being converted into a multifamily building. This is a fire station that Charleston County is building out near Edisto. And so we have a lot of different building types that are going through the program. And one of the nice aspects about the program is it's applicable to all kinds of different building types and sizes. There's 6 categories in the program. So we're incentivizing and rewarding things related to site planning and water conservation, energy efficiency, renewable power, sustainable materials, healthy interiors. And then we have some innovation credits to recognize anything that's innovative that sort of meets the goal of the program. One of the nice aspects about our program is that most of the actions are required. Everything in the water conservation and energy efficiency section is all required. So you're not going through and trying to figure out what you should do on your project. There are some optional credits, and we require 12 out of the 35 optional. And you can get those from any of the other categories. So again, the primary threshold's a 30% energy reduction over code. Every building has to be energy modeled. And so they're comparing a base code building versus your 30% better building. And that process is really helpful because it's in that process where you're choosing higher performing equipment and really figuring out how to hit that target. We also require renewable energy. 2% of the predicted energy use has to come from renewable energy on the project. And then we require building commissioning and building envelope commissioning. Getting the building envelope is really important. So having a third party contractor come in and test the envelope and test the air leakage is important. And then of course the building commissioner comes in and starts up and tests all the mechanical systems. This is what the process looks like. We do upfront design review. The commissioning happens. We do inspections. you do the the final building commissioning, and we have a final inspection and certification. And I want to mention that, again, Dominion Energy has a tremendous amount of utility incentives. They run this program through ICF, who administrates it. And we have found that our projects can really maximize these incentives because their threshold is a 15% beyond ASHRAE 90.1 2007 code. And so ours being a higher code, a lot of the stuff that we reward qualifies for incentives, and some of our projects appear that they're going to max out at $100,000 or more in rebates that they're getting back for their efficiency measures. Here's some of the additional resources that we talked about: the home energy checkup, and the federal tax credits. And again, I know this presentation will be provided later, and so you can reference those as needed. And then here is our contact information, and you can request a workshop, apply for weatherization if you meet the income qualifications. We are also administrating our program through the Charleston County Critical Home Repair Program. So you can go to their website and learn about that. And then of course our website is listed here as well. I am going to figure out how to.
Great job, Bryan.
In that, I'm looking forward to any questions that folks have.
So we've got some questions and some really good ones. Pamela Greenlaw wants to know what can be done for rural residents living in trailers.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And what you really need to do is call your rural co-op energy company, who should have some programs that are available. And I know different co-ops have different programs, but they should have a energy auditing service that can come out and evaluate the home and try to figure out the best strategies. Just like in a regular home, we find that the envelopes of trailers can be really problematic. And so, and a lot of the mobile homes are older in nature and just very inefficient. And so a lot of the things that we talked about today are applicable to mobile homes as well. But particularly the air leakage issue is important to be addressed.
I think you're still sharing your screen too, so maybe.
Yeah, let me see.
Okay. So there was she was wondering about a report you were referring to. I think that was when you were on the equity slide. I don't know if you remember that, but maybe, maybe she can go back and look at the recording if you don't remember.
Yeah, I'm happy to share the reports. There was a study by the IEA, and then I also referenced the Southeast Energy Efficiency Alliance's Energy Insecurity Project. But we can provide links to those reports.
Okay. And then, you mentioned a bunch of tests that people can do for their home. Do you know how they can access those tests and what they might cost?
Sure. So again, the visual inspection that you can get through your utility provider is valuable. And that's a great place to start, and it's free. So everybody should go out and get that. If you want to go sort of one step better in terms of diagnosis and actually do performance testing on your house, there's a number of qualified raters, and the credentials that you really want to look for in an energy auditor are a HERS rater or what they call a BPI professional. BPI is Building Performance Institute, and you can go to the BPI website and pull up all of the energy auditors that are in the state of South Carolina that have the BPI credential. Similarly, you can go to the ResNet website, that's a RESNET, and pull up all of the HERS raters in the South Carolina state. Typically, there's a range of what those cost. The auditors set those prices themselves. It's typically about a 2-hour visit in the house. Some of them furnish reports and do actual energy modeling as a part of what they do. In those cases, we see somewhere around a $600 to $700 cost for that service.
Excellent, thank you. There's another question about, if you have an older home and you were talking about the insulation, how do you measure the insulation in your wall if, the wall's there?
Yeah, so it's almost impossible to do, right? But one tool that energy auditors use is a infrared camera. And I meant to mention this earlier. It's something that we use during our audits and most auditors use. And one of the things that does is measures heat loss and, actually colors with infrared color the heat that's infiltrating through your envelope. So it detects where there's insulation voids in your house. And so if you identify a place that has a performance issue, an insulation void, then an insulating contractor can come in, cut a hole in that wall and below insulation between the cavity. And so, we do this all the time. It's really easy to do. And then they, simply fix that hole and repaint the wall, and that works fine. And so it's typically, blown cellulose that goes into those walls is what we use. But it's fairly easy to do.
Great. You like easy. So if you're sealing up your windows, does that prevent you from opening them?
No. So, the most important thing to do is probably weather strip your windows, because we find that so many just, when they close, they're not closing tight, and there's an opportunity to do that. You're caulking around the windows, so you're not preventing the windows from opening and closing. So that's sort of, the gaps between the windows and the frame. Now, when you put in the window film, that would prevent you from opening and closing. But I'll say with the window film, most of those are magnetized. And so you're just putting it up and then sort of putting a magnet over it. And so you just pull those strips off and remove the film if you want to, open the window, and it takes 5 seconds to do. So, when you want to be opening your windows during the cooling system and you're not using your air conditioner, then you sort of, take that window film down.
Bobby Lyon was here and she had to go, but she gave us some information. She wanted to share that she got a hot water tank that pulls the heat from the air. And she said that helped her with her efficiency. And she had a question about the mini split system. She was thinking that you could possibly use that with geothermal energy. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, mini split systems are a really interesting option. So they're essentially ductless, and they have particular uses that they're really good for, like if you're trying to heat or cool a small space. And the real value is that they don't have ductwork. And so, you're not experiencing the duct leakage that you have in typical HVAC ductwork, which is what makes them more efficient. And so they come at a premium cost, but they last a whole lot longer and are typically more efficient. And there's a bunch of different kinds out there on the market that are drawing their energy from different sources.
Do you know if they can be used with geothermal?
I believe they can.
Okay. What are the window quilts for in a commercial building?
Window quilts. That may have been just referenced as, keeping the blinds or shades or whatever you can do, including a quilt, up in your window to block the sunlight and the heat gain that you get through your window is just a behavioral thing that you can do.
This rises. Could you use the rises program for an affordable housing project?
Sure. So particularly like a multi-family affordable house, as if it's a apartment complex, you can use the Rises project for that. We are not certifying houses. It's all commercial buildings or multifamily buildings. But again, it's a real diverse group of building types that we're working on, and affordable multifamily complexes would certainly qualify.
Okay, great. And then Pamela wants to know if, you mentioned that you give workshops. Do you just do that in the Charleston area, or would you do that throughout the state, or?
Yeah, so the quick answer to that is no. We do virtual workshops all the time, and oftentimes for state agencies or other nonprofits across the state. Locally, it's mostly Charleston metro area that we're doing them in, across sort of a 3 to 5 county region. But we are really kicking our workshops off into high gear, and anticipate doing as many as 2 to 3 a month this year. And so we're really excited about getting out into the community to do more of these, and particularly into our low income, more vulnerable communities. And so if you are a community-based organization that serves households that are energy insecure, we're particularly interested in doing workshops in those types of venues.
Great. And then Miranda wants to know, she's really curious about restaurants. So, there's so many restaurants in Charleston, of course, and they use a lot of energy, like you said. And she wants to know if many restaurants in the area, downtown Charleston, look to you for recommendations. And yeah, she's really interested in them improving their energy efficiency.
Yeah, here. I'm interested as well, and wish that they would. Most of our Rises projects to date have been pretty big building footprints, and most of them have been 6 to 8 story or more commercial buildings, and a lot of them have been coming to us because of the fantastic move that the city of Charleston made in putting together the UP incentivized zoning district, which rewards buildings, allows buildings to have greater height and density if in return they're really embracing sustainability measures. And one of the pathways to being able to construct a larger building is getting points by using our program. And so a lot of the projects we've been getting have been coming to us as a result of that. So it's mainly been larger buildings in general, with the exception of some fire stations and other things. But we would really love to see buildings that are more in the range of 2 to 5,000 square feet coming through the program as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And there are so many opportunities and restaurants to, particularly through the hot water reductions that you can do.
Miranda also wants to know if you offer volunteer opportunities to get involved with your organization.
Yes, so we will soon be publishing a list of volunteer opportunities, but one of the ways is, if you sort of flip back to our habitat restoration work, we're always looking for volunteers to go out and participate in the oyster bed restoration work that we do, and the Spartina grass planting, and all of that work that we engage our AmeriCorps members on. We do builds, a lot of beach litter sweeps and things. And then on our efficiency side, whenever we go into a community and we are retrofitting large number of homes at once and doing workshops alongside that, we love to engage volunteers in that work as well. So we'll be announcing some of those opportunities as we go throughout the year.
Okay. All right. So this will be our last question because we're over time. Are larger buildings also required to include green space and trees in addition to energy efficient measures?
Yes, so we reward and incentivize green space as a part of our Charleston Rises project. And the I think the reward there, we're looking for 25% more than what code is required, or what your local municipality requires. So that is an incentive that we've built into our program, along with all kinds of stormwater mitigation strategies and construction pollution mitigation. So there's a lot of things that we do related to the site that are rewarded through our program.
Fabulous. Great to hear. So Bryan, wow, y'all are doing some fabulous work. And this
Thank you.
was great information, really hit on so many topics that people can actually get their hands around and do something to save energy and save water.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I feel like I just scratched the surface on a lot of this stuff, and happy to talk more to anyone that's interested. I saw that April on my team put in the link to the SIA report on energy and security, which is a really interesting read for people that are interested.
Great. Thank you, April, for doing that. All right. Thank you to everyone who came today, and we will have this as a recording. Please get this information out to everyone you know so that they can also, get these projects and programs started in their own homes and their own businesses. And again, thank you, Bryan, and thank you to everyone from the Sustainability Institute for all you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Everybody have a great day.
You too.